So as this super mutant rises, Europe is in grips of the fourth wave. Infections are higher than ever before. Several countries are imposing a lockdown. Europe now accounts for 3 in every 5 cases across the globe. The World Health Organization fears there could be as many as 500,000 more deaths by February 2022. Sneha Mordani gets us more.
The COVID pandemic is far from over. In fact, it's rising with vengeance across Europe.
Probably by the end of this winter, pretty much everyone in Germany, it has sometimes been said, somewhat cynically, will have been vaccinated, recovered or died. But it's true. With the highly contagious Delta variant, this is very, very likely.
COVID restrictions are returning. In Germany, it's nearly 9 million people who are not allowed to leave home except to go to work or shop for essentials. Austria has announced a complete lockdown from the 22nd of November. It is the first European country to declare compulsory vaccinations from February 2022. Hungary, Belgium and Netherlands are also mulling shutdowns as the virus rages. On the 8th of November last year, Europe reported the peak of the year with 2.87 lakh new cases, which went down to around 40,000 on June 19, 2021. On the 21st of November 2021, new cases jumped again to 3.3 lakh, almost 61% of the world's new cases. Germany surpassed the United Kingdom in terms of daily deaths, and the gap is only widening. Germany now reports over 200 daily deaths. The crisis in Russia is deadlier, with the country reporting more than 1,200 deaths every single day, in spite of a decline in new cases. Germany had only 8,000 new cases on the 1st of October, but on the 21st of November, the number jumped 6 times to 49,206. It was almost the same story in the UK, in Russia, Netherlands, Australia and Italy. So what's really causing the surge? Is it waning immunity or vaccine resistance?
It is winter time when people gather indoors for festivities. The surge is expected to get worse. When a large number of individuals have infection in the community, there will be a proportional rise in the number of hospital admissions. Therefore, the hospital systems are being strained and lockdown has already been instituted in certain regions.
The World Health Organization is worried. It fears there could be as many as 500,000 more deaths by February. Deaths are being seen even in highly vaccinated countries.
COVID-19 is surging in countries with lower vaccination rates in Eastern Europe, but also in countries with some of the world's highest vaccination rates in Western Europe. It's another reminder, as we have said again and again, that vaccines do not replace the need for other precautions. Vaccines reduce the risk of hospitalization, severe disease and death, but they do not fully prevent transmission.
India too is concerned, given the opening up of international travel and a sudden rush to make full use of it.
This is definitely a time where the guard cannot be lowered. This is definitely also the time when the panic should not set in, the fear should not be set in. We should move in this phase with responsibility. Responsibility in terms of the COVID appropriate behavior, which is still relevant. Responsibility to ensure that the adults are vaccinated, and responsibility on the part of the government to ensure that the surveillance, genomic surveillance and the preparedness is not diluted at all.
India is taking solace from the fact that 99% of COVID cases are courtesy the Delta variant that ravaged India in the summer of 2021. The same variant was first detected in India. That there is immunity to this variant, given the widespread exposure, and no other variant or lineage has so far been more dominant, is what is making India more hopeful. In New Delhi with Milan Sharma, Sneha Mordani for India Today.
So given this surge, the question is, what should India's approach be? What are steps that the government should take? And more important, what are steps that you and I need to take to ensure we are out of harm's way? Dr. Parikh, new variants could mean that the existing vaccine, again, these are reports that are coming that say that the vaccine could be 40% less effective. So, is this conjecture, or should we now take precautions even more seriously and not throw caution to the wind like we did earlier?
Of course, Gaurav, we must take precautions regardless of what the conjectures might be. But, I could not help observing that you use the words insanely high 3 times.
Sir, not my words, words of the doctor in Hong Kong. I directly quoted the doctor.
Twice. On 2 occasions, you quoted the doctor. The first time, you said it yourself. But I'll tell you what, you're in illustrious company. While it might seem a little unusual, given your vocabulary as well as that of your channel, which is not sensational, you are in excellent company. Professor Tom Peacock, the virologist at the Imperial College, who first spoke of this new variant, used the word awful. Another British scientist has used the word horrific. Now, these are not words which come easy to scientists, and I believe there is some rationale behind all this. Let me just share a visual with you, which might, condense what otherwise might be 1,000 words. I'm not sure if this is clear, but, I've been incidentally tracking this virus, this variant, for the last 3 days very actively. And here's a graph to illustrate why your vocabulary might be justified, even if you cited somebody else. This is the rise in infection with the new variant. You have the Delta and you have the Beta. So what we are witnessing is that more than 90% of new cases which are emerging from South Africa are showing the sequence of this new variant. That's one reason for concern. There is another more compelling reason, and that is this is the most mutated variant in the history of SARS-CoV. It has more than 50 mutations. Of these, 32 are on the dreaded S protein, and of these 32, 10 are on the receptor binding site. Just to give some context, we've all talked extensively of the Delta variant. The Delta variant had just 13 mutations on the spike protein, and of these were only 2 were on the receptor binding site. So there is, at a molecular and a genetic level, a huge difference between this and the Delta variant.
Okay.
The third thing, which has not been spoken about, but I couldn't help noticing it, is that at least in one patient, the infection seems to have spread airborne. These are 2 patients who were not in contact in adjacent rooms, and the second patient acquired it from the first case, but something again of concern. And historically, if we look at it, the Beta variant, which is being talked about, eludes the immune system, but it's not that infective. The Delta variant responds to the immune system, but is highly infective. Now, there is some conjecture, again, that the new variant might combine features of these 2, in which case, there might be reason to panic. Although, of course, it's premature to elicit that response at this time. In terms of vaccination, and if you look at the Delta variant, yes, go on.
No, please complete your point, sir. My question was to Dr. Swaminathan, but please go on, complete your point, sir.
Yes, the point I wish to complete, just to kind of see this in perspective, is when you look at the Delta variant, 30% of people respond to the first shot. Its efficacy is 30% with the first shot. It shoots up to 79% with the second dose. And with the booster, it's 95%. So there is a compelling case for us to step up vaccination. But again, we must never forget that what's almost 100% effective is CAB, COVID-appropriate behavior. We've talked of it endlessly to the point that we are now being desensitized to it. But wearing a mask, retaining social distance, washing hands, these still are the most effective measures to deal with any variant whatsoever.
And absolutely. And one reason to talk about this today is so that people continue to follow that COVID-appropriate behavior. Dr. Swaminathan, so 1, we're talking about the variant from South Africa. 2, we're talking about what's happening in Europe, the 4th wave. How do you read what's happening in Europe?
I think in the previous discussion, Dr. Khan made a very interesting point, and that's where we are a little different. We have what is called hybrid immunity. If you look at the seroprevalence data which came by from middle of this year, the overwhelming majority of the country had experienced the Delta virus in some form or the other. And combine it with the vaccination, we get a far larger kick in terms of protection as compared to the vaccine alone. Western Europe primarily got the vaccine, and the Delta agent really didn't bother about previous variants, and therefore it still remains a major threat. They do not have the benefit of the hybrid immunity. So while we paid a heavy price in March, April, and May,
yes,
the fringe benefit has been that we all get a lot more of the hybrid immunity. And that's probably one of the reasons why, in spite of the government projecting that in October we'll have a wave, in November we'll have a wave, in September we'll have a wave, we've never had anything so far. That is not to say that it will not happen. Yes, waning immunity will be a concern. But I suspect that with the hybrid immunity, it's probably been kicked down the road far longer than anybody had previously suspected.
Okay.
Now, will the new one cause a wave? That is extremely possible. But again, question is, what do you mean by wave? Is it a question of number of infections? Is it a question of number of hospitalizations? Or is it number of deaths? The point is that infections are inevitable because we know even with vaccine, we cannot drive out the infection.
Yes.
So infections will continue to happen. The idea is to protect people from bad outcomes. And I think that's where the vaccine still plays a major part.
So vaccination is key, and especially those, because Dr. Parikh, the second dose, that is where a lot of people are not coming forward to it, prompting the government to go for this Har Ghar Dastak, and now thinking about that Roko and Thoko system. If you haven't got the second dose, stop you and give you that second dose, and as Dr. Swaminathan was saying, that let it be a punitive thing, and as you're vaccinated twice, you are in trouble. But are we now saying what we saw earlier this year, God forbid, we won't see that again if we are vaccinated?
We can't say that with any degree of confidence, Gaurav. But we do need a three-pronged approach. I'm personally not in favor of coercive measures which infringe on basic rights. But on the other hand, yes, I am in favor of some kind of a vaccine mandate. For instance, 2 days ago was the last day that a government official in the United States could show up at work if we hadn't had both doses. In fact, I was in New York a couple of weeks ago, and I was in a discussion with a highly placed government official who strangely appears to be an anti-vaxxer. And he said to me, I'll have to take this stupid vaccine, otherwise I'll lose my job. So we do need some kind of a vaccine mandate. But you know what, Gaurav? I think we need to shorten the gap between the two doses. We have the longest gap in the world when it comes to Covishield.
Okay.
That may be a factor which could possibly have reduced the compliance. When you have a gap that long, people are a little forgetful.
So bring it back to
taking their
8 weeks or 12 weeks and not 16 weeks. Perhaps we will do another show on this. I've run out of time on this part of the show. Dr. Swaminathan, Dr. Laharia and Dr. Parikh, many, many thanks for joining me here on India Today. Today marks the 13th anniversary of one of the worst terror attacks on our country, 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks in 2008. Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the nation in paying respects to those who made the supreme sacrifice of their lives in this Pakistan state-sponsored terror attack. It was this day in 2008 when 10 Pakistani Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists with assault rifles and grenades, they attacked India's financial capital. India will never forgive, never forget.